On the early S60, when you have acceleration problems, oftentimes is a fuel delivery issue. Don't blame first the fuel pump, because the fuel pumps on these cars are really solid. Main problems, fuel pressure sensor on the rail, when you have one on the right side of the rail. But first check the fuel pump module, a PEM call it, and is located, initially was located under the car on the right side, and Volvo later on relocated it. But check first underneath the car. You'll notice we have the fuel tank right here, and right on top of it you will perhaps get a small view of the connector of the PM. It sits right here. The camera, it's a little bit hard to see with it. It sits right there. You have a connector, the wire, and I did remove from mine the bracket that keeps that PM. This screw or tiny bolt, I think I got it out with 7mm. It's really tiny, don't lose it. Slide it towards the side of the car, comes out. You notice these small legs, these are the ones that have to slide, and there's a bracket in there, kind of has those legs on all sides. And then you have this very annoying connector. Try to insert underneath a small screwdriver, just pull it on the side like that and insert the screwdriver. Is really annoying to undo. If I can do it one hand, just like that, and lift that tab and bring down the don't pull on the wires, bring down the module from there. All right, so you really need to release that tab from this small bump, and this is how the connector looks. Volvo has this problem with the connectors. Basically, if you see any corrosion on this cooling plate, replace it. Don't buy it new from the Volvo because it's really expensive, several $100s, but buy it from eBay. But look for one that's really clean like this, because later on these guys have been relocating inside the car, and they were really nicely protected. The problem is really corrosion from this plate. It sits outside the car on early models, plate corrodes and corrodes inside as well, and drops on the control board and messes the small components. I have here two units. This one is the one I pull it, and there's another one. Notice the parts are exactly the same number. The one on the right is the early one on my car. This one, it's a later one. Notice it was relocated inside the trunk on the right side near the spare tire. You just lift that cover and look for it. It's attached with Velcro on the side of the wall. But they are the same part basically. It's just that when you check with Volvo or online, sometimes you see different part numbers, but it's just the way it's attached to different brackets. On Volvo XC90 is different attachment. On S40 also has different attachments. It's underneath the rear bench on the left side of the car. But the module itself, the connection here is exactly the same, needs no programming, can get it used off eBay. The only one that I think is different was on a specific 2004 S60R and V70R. They had a different connector here, I believe, but other than that, all cars, XC90, XC70, S60, even the S40, V50 up to S40 up to 2014, I think they had the same module. You can just swap it, no programming needed. Used work should be working perfectly. You may want to check the fuel filter if you have external one. If you have an internal one in the pump itself inside the tank, don't touch that one. That's a lifetime part. It's really long lasting. Actually, there are two filters in there, so you should not worry. again, the way this guy sits in there, you need to plug it in, and then you just slide it, you put it there on the top of the tank and just slide it a little bit and just make sure it's stuck in there. It slides very easily, no problem. Then place this tab. It's going to be placed something like this. It sits right under the connector and it has a bump in here, so make sure you lower it to engage it to stay secure in there in that bump, and then you place that screw. There's a hole, just look above for that small hole and screw it, and that screw will just push on this plate just like that in the middle of the plate. And the plate, notice, has two legs. It's kind of springy and it keeps the connector inside, fixed in there and secured in there. That's how it goes. The next guy is the FPS, if you have one, on the right side of the fuel rail. So let's just have a look to it. This is how to replace the fuel pressure sensor. FPS is located on the right side of the rail if you have one. Not all cars had one. Notice the release, the fuel release valve. We are going to depress it. Going to use a T25 because the space is tight. You can undo this hose, it doesn't matter, but the T25 will just put it on the double wrench. It works very nicely. So you may want just to release the connector, flip it like this. The problems usually with this, it's acceleration will hesitate to just accelerate and kind of is bogging like this. That's usually the pressure sensor. The pump module, PEM, fuel pump electronic module, I don't know exactly what it does. Oftentimes perhaps no starting, stalling and stuff like this is more serious. The pressure sensor is more hesitation under acceleration, under more hard acceleration. I'm not talking about misfire from the ignition coils, it's just the gas delivery basically. I will use this to catch the gas, and don't do this inside the garage please, because it will leak on the floor, and gasoline is very stinky, sticky and almost impossible to clean. So watch out. If you want, very good idea to use gloves, because again it's very hard to wash off hands, even with whatever you use, alcohol or whatever, it just doesn't want to wash off. It is critical. I would strongly advise use eye protection, because sometimes it's just, especially when the engine is hot, but you just don't want to mess this getting to your eyes. It's really under pressure. It is critical to understand that even if you pull a sensor from a junkyard car that's been sitting there for 2 or 3 weeks, there is still pressure inside the rail. Don't do that mistake. I've seen it live. Guy took the pressure right into his eyes. So always, no matter what, release the pressure. And since I'm doing this with the engine slightly warm, I will have to keep the pressure released when pulling the sensor. So remember, warm engine, the pressure needs to be released at the moment of removing the sensor, not just 10 minutes before. All right, so let's just undo this small screw there. Sometimes that screw is stuck in there, so go gently, try not to round it. Use definitely the correct T25 Torx. Do not try with anything else. You are going to have a surprise. And if you mess with this bolt here, you won't be able to remove the sensor no matter what, so unless you replace the rail. It's important perhaps not to undo completely the bolt, the small screw, so the sensor doesn't slide out and you get sprayed. So at this point, when I see the small screw is rotating, I'm just going to release the pressure, just push with something. Always use a paper to cover that thing. You don't want that thing spraying all over the place. And just depress down. And again, it will just leak a little bit of gasoline, but most of the gasoline will leak here. So I just want to remove the screw now that the pressure, you notice I keep depressed this thing here on the other side of the screen, so I don't let the pressure build up, especially when the engine is warm. It keeps building up. This is why I'm really warning you guys, so you don't have a surprise. So right now you may want to turn a little bit the sensor to break it loose. When you see it's coming out, and I'm turning and I'm pulling on it, so I'm going to release the pressure here because I'm going to remove the sensor quickly. So that's the gasoline that leaks out. I would say perhaps 1 ounce of gasoline, about 30 millimeters or so. So this is why you don't do this inside the garage, and don't drain this by the municipality drain, because it is going to be messy and stinky. I'm going to put that into my snow blower. So let's just grab the replacement sensor, the one that you want to replace. Always use Vaseline. My dealers also use Vaseline. The reason for this is that to make the gasket here slide in there, if it's not lubricated, it will chip. No matter what, new, old, it will chip. So you don't definitely want that thing. Always use gasoline. If you are worried about gasoline, well, gasoline is petroleum and gas is petroleum. So the rubber here, it's resistant to petroleum products. So gasoline is Vaseline is the best thing. Just match it there nicely and put some pressure while rotating it a little bit, and it should slide in there. I just like to rotate it a little bit to eliminate anything, dirt or something that can get caught in there, so it doesn't have any leaks. And when I feel it's okay, just place back that screw. Make sure you match it inside the hole. I'm trying to see it where it is. I think that's cool. Tighten that thing back. There's no need to undo the car battery for this job. It won't set any SRS messages or stuff like this. And then tighten back the guy. I would say don't over tighten this guy, because sometimes you want to replace the sensor again for some reason. Maybe you put a used one, so just a small snug in there. Just slightly tighten there. Well, not slightly, but you know what I mean. Just a kick, and then got the connector back in place. Push it until it clicks. Don't forget the small cap for the valve. Again, it's, I would say, the most important part. Use goggles, use eye protection, and release the pressure. Don't think. Again, the pressure doesn't drop. It really lasts for weeks in there, maybe months. And also when the engine is slightly warm, keep that thing depressed at the moment of releasing the sensor from there. That's also very important. And that's it. It's very, very easy. And culprits, these are the problems for the fuel delivery. Like I said, fuel electronic module PEM, or this sensor. Not all cars that got this sensor, but if you see it there, that's another problem that happens with these engines, both turbo and non-turbo, and also on S40, V50, they also have the same issues. Thanks for watching.